All right, peace and light, YouTube. It is your boy, the one, the only, the real CT, and I am back in this thing. First off, I want to welcome you all back to the channel. Thank you for your love, support. I thank y'all for liking and subscribing to the page. Be sure if you have not liked and subscribed to the page, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I repeat, like, comment, and subscribe, y'all. We got to get those subscribers up. Y'all, I'm back with another video and we got to get into some things, all right? But first, I am the one, the only, the real CT. And you know I'm always going to bring you nothing but real moments, real headlines, real life, real CT. So let's get into this video. We got to start off with none other than two-time Grammy Award winning R&B songstress Money Long, y'all. Money Long is back with a new single titled Riches. And she also shared some news with the world on, I believe it was Good Morning America this past week, you guys. So the R&B singer Money Long is opening up, according to sources, and we're going to pull from ABC News today. According to ABC News, she's opening up about her life challenges and health battles after the doctors told her that she had 1 week to live without a lung transplant. She is opening up to the world about how she had to undergo double heart transplant treatment. Isn't that crazy, y'all? Due to her autoimmune disease, lupus. Many of you don't know, lupus is a chronic condition and it's an autoimmune condition that can affect many parts of the body, such as your skin, your joints, your kidneys, your lungs, your heart, your blood vessels, your nervous system, and your digestive system. So let's take a look, y'all, at what Money Long had to say about undergoing this double lung transplant. As we do know, she was on the Boy Is Mine's tour back this spring, I believe. That was back this spring, or was that last fall? One of the two. But she was on the Boy Is Mine tour with Brandy and Monica, and we do know she was only able to complete a couple dates, and she ended up having to go off of the tour earlier than the tour end date. All right, so let's check out this interview. We're gonna take a look, y'all.
And when I woke up in the hospital, I felt so much better. Obviously, they had done whatever they needed to do to just kind of get me stable. But then all the doctors came in. It was like 6 people: a pulmonologist, rheumatologist, there was like 3 pulmonary doctors, the ECMO specialist, actually the doctor who invented it, Dr. Maybauer. And they're all like, "You need a transplant." And I'm like, "Well, it sounds like you guys have a time. Like, how long do I have to live?" And they go, "A week."
A week to live.
1 week. And my jaw dropped. Literally, I was like, "That's rude," you know. But they were kind of like just wanting me to like, "Hey, this is not a joke. You need to make a choice. You can either go to hospice or you can get these lungs."
And for anybody, being told that is just. But you're a singer, yeah. You're being a singer as well. What was that playing in your mind as well?
It absolutely was. Like the ego and the vanity was just like, "But what about my voice? You know, what's gonna happen?" But then, I look at my son and I think about like how much more life that I have to live. And I think just quality of life was first. Like, I can't sing if I'm not here.
No. And you are here. You are here. How are you these days? What is the prognosis for you?
I'm doing fabulous. I'm 6 months post-op. Actually, tomorrow's my last appointment for like all the things. And so I'm going down to Gainesville to do that. So hi, everybody. No symptoms, asymptomatic, no infections, none of that.
Wow.
And then I have my vocal checkup 6 months will be in August because I had to have vocal surgery as well.
And you have new music out, The Richest, and this was recorded before you had the procedure.
So the music is about 1.5 years, just kind of in the making. I recorded it like I think February 5th.
Or how I am a person that live with an autoimmune disease. I do have sickle cell, and my sickle cell, FYI, look, my sickle cell has actually affected my kidneys. So now they're saying I will need a transplant or to go on dialysis. So I appreciate her for sharing this with the world because, it's tough out here, guys. It's people going through real life things, and it doesn't matter how much money you have, what you do. It doesn't matter. it can happen to all of us. So I thank her for sharing that. And like I said, y'all, according to ABC, she said she is 6 months post-op, and we heard her say she was asymptomatic, no infection. So that's a blessing. And what I will say is, I didn't hear it was a waiting list, because look, that's my problem now with trying to get a kidney. They say, oh, it's a waiting list. It's a waiting list. But see, look, Money had the coin. Money had the coins to go ahead and get that double lung transplant. That's what I'm talking about, Money. I got to get like you. Y'all, look, you got to laugh or keep from crying. So I next on the docket, y'all, we got to get into none of the, oh my gosh. We got to get into this old, I ain't gonna try to call out a name. But we got to get into Oprah, because why is she coming for Whitney? Why is she coming for Whitney? Whitney been dead, sleeping in her grave, resting in heaven, resting in peace. They worried her enough while she was down here on earth, and she still can't get no rest. So earlier this week, y'all, it was reported that Oprah Winfrey was over in Canes doing a sit-down interview. And we're going to pull from the Neighborhood Talk. Shout out to the Neighborhood Talk for this source. But it came out that she said here in a sit-down interview, Oprah highlighted that the responsibility of media and how strong of an influence they have. So she's highlighting the responsibility of media and the influence they have, but you go and tell the whole world about a private moment that happened behind stage about Whitney Houston. Okay. She says, as a strong example, she used her extremely popular interview with Whitney Houston. Now, as many of you should know, Whitney's last biggest interview in, I believe it was 2009, was with Oprah Winfrey. When she did the sit down interview, she discussed the drugs, she discussed the voice, she discussed the marriage, she discussed rehab, she discussed a lot of things. She discussed the fame, and she was really vulnerable. And in that interview, Oprah really made it seem like she had Whitney's back, and you could tell Whitney was in the environment where she felt open enough to open up to Oprah. But no. Of course, it would take Oprah however many so years later to ruin some. And it's just like, really, Oprah? Really? I saw a post the other day, and they said that Oprah and Gayle are too removed from society. They said that they need to read the room. They're too removed from society. And because for her to go out and say something like this about Whitney, yeah, we all know Whitney struggled with drugs, but why do you have to bring this up? Why bring this up? And then you sitting over here telling us that we have a responsibility in media, but you go and do this. So I'm gonna tell y'all what she did, and I quote y'all. She said on stage, I quote Oprah, "We did the whole, hey girl, how you doing?" greeting thing. And then I stopped the cameras and I went behind the stage and I said, "So tell me, what do you what do you want to happen here?" And I'm going to tell you what I want to happen here, Winfrey said. And that was one of the most powerful interviews. Now, it goes along in this article, y'all, and it reads, it says, Oprah went on to say that while Whitney wasn't high during the interview that we watched, she relapsed when she came back to perform for the audience, according to her. She was high that she fell off the stage. Now, I've watched that performance several times, and I don't think Whitney looked hot to me. And she goes on to say, and I quote, "I had such trust from the Oprah show audience. I think it was Houston's last show with us, and she had gone back on drugs." Winfrey said, "The first interview I did with her, when we would go behind stage and I asked her about her intentions, she was clean. But the day she came back to the show to perform in front of the audience, she was not. She fell off the stage." So Oprah's saying because Whitney tripped and fell off the stage, she was hot. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here, Oprah. Get out of here. First of all, I don't like the fact that you even bringing Whitney up and you're bringing up a negative because y'all, she later goes on in an interview and she says she went around the whole audience and she told the audience, please don't release it on social media. Please don't post it on social media. Please just don't do nothing about it because this will ruin Whitney. It will ruin Whitney. So I guess now that Whitney's dead, it's okay to talk about it. She shouldn't have said nothing at all. Because guess what? If you went around and you told the audience not to say something, and all these years have passed and nobody has ever said anything, why go on an interview and mention Whitney? You contradicted yourself, Oprah. Bottom line. Because you can't say we have a responsibility, highlighting the responsibility of media and how strong of an influence we have. And you go around and you do all that with the audience. And then years later, just because it's years later, you go on and tell the whole world Whitney was high. So, guys, Pat Houston, which can't stand her either. Pat and Oprah deserve each other, if you ask me. But that's never here nor there. But Pat is saying that's not true. So I shout out to Pat for coming through and clearing Whitney's name. But I don't know if is it because you really want to clear Whitney's name or you want some of the limelight, some of the fame time, because we know how you get down, Pat. I'm just saying. And also the bodyguard, which I believe was Ray. I think he was Bobby Brown's brother. I think so. He's also coming out and debunking that rumor that Whitney was high. They said she was not high. She tripped. It was something, a nail on the floor or something. And she was like, I guess 2 inches from it, from really getting hurt or whatever. But take a look at what Oprah said, even though I just repeated it to y'all. Take a look. Here we go. And we're going to take a look at what Pat said.
Going behind stage and I asked her about her attention. She was clean. But the day she came to my show then to perform in front of the audience, she was not. And she fell off of the stage. And so even though the audience was there and the audience had cameras, I begged them not to put those pictures out because it would ruin her life. And they did not. First interview I did with her when we'd gone behind stage and I asked her.
She said she begged them not to put the pictures out and it would ruin her life. But you go years later and you go and tell the whole world. Why? I guess you think because now her life is over, it don't matter. No, BS. Be a sister friend. You said in front of Whitney's face and you said you were her sister friend. And I don't think Whitney would appreciate this if she was alive. You did the same thing to Michael. You sat down with Michael and did that interview, made him feel comfortable, and then you went around and did all those Leaving Neverland documentaries. You full of shit, Oprah. Full of it.
About her attention.
And that's all I gotta say. Now let's get into what Pat had to say. Cause y'all know how she is. Allegedly. All of this is allegedly. She didn't look high to me.
First and
I
foremost,
watched that
what
performance
went through
several
your
times.
mind
I
when
love Whitney
you heard
Houston.
Oprah's comments?
The first interview I did with her, she was clean. But the day she came to my show then to perform, she was not. And she fell off of the stage.
When I watched it, I was totally surprised. And, my response, it didn't have anything to do with anger or outrage with Oprah, because I know for a fact on that day that Whitney was not high.
What do you remember about Whitney that day when you saw her and you looked into her eyes?
That was a very meaningful moment for her. In the history of knowing Whitney for over 30 some odd years, of course she abused drugs and everything, but for her craft, Whitney never showed up on stage high. You couldn't even get her out of her room, if she were high. And for a statement to be made like that, it was extremely disappointing. And I have all the respect in the world for Oprah. I have to protect her legacy. You know, if it were true, I would admit it being true.
What Pat does admit, Whitney did fall off the stage during rehearsals.
She missed her step and she fell off stage. And of course, Oprah was very gracious and she immediately, you know, addressed the audience.
The audience had cameras. I begged them not to put those pictures out because it would ruin her life.
She was adamant about it. No one will hear about this. You will not disrespect her. And she was so adamant and gracious.
What would you say to Oprah today?
Sister to sister, what happened? Because we both know that did not happen. I certainly would just want to ask the question, why? But it's not something, it wouldn't be anything confrontational, because I know that Whitney really, you know, trusted her, and so did I.
Exactly what I'm talking about. Why? Why? That's the question. Why? You sit up here and you go around allegedly, because now we're going to get into alleged. Well, no, Pat is saying she wasn't allegedly high, okay? And I believe she wasn't high. We watched her perform, y'all, and you seen the difference in Whitney being high and Whitney not high. Come on. But it's just the fact of you were so adamant. Now, Pat just sat there and said she was adamant with the audience that nobody should release it and it can't get out. It would end her life. But you go on several years later and you expose this information. I'm with Pat. Why? And so, Pat, I'm not going to go too hard on you because I was in that ass. Even though, Pat, you know, you pissed me off in the past. You pissed me off. But I ain't going to go too hard on you this time because I do appreciate you stepping in for Whitney. I just hope it is for the deep down. It is for protecting her legacy. I hope that's what it is, Pat. That's all I'm saying. I love Whitney. I'm a true Whitney fan. And I just don't like Whitney slander or people playing in our face about Whitney. Because that was the problem all these years. Whitney was alive. People was playing in Whitney's face. Next case. Last but not least, y'all, I want to get into none other than my fave. I used to have the biggest crush on her. Tia Mowry, y'all. Tia Mowry is coming out. And I think I may have made a video about this in the past. But as many of you should know, Tia Mowry has found love, y'all. And she's coming out speaking with us about her new love and how she's manifested her YN, y'all. She got a YN. Now, I think he is like a tad bit younger than her. So he is 35. He's a 35-year-old artist and teacher. And she is 47, which I'm here for the Kruger love. I'm trying to find me a Kruger. Shoot. So check this out, y'all. Tia Mowry, she was on a recent interview talking about how she manifested this new love. Now, while promoting her new Lifetime movie that's coming out, I think is it Single Black Female or something like that. But according to her, that's exactly what showed up. She explained her new man is a teacher with a master's degree and also has 2 kids around the same age as hers. She was all smiles in a recent interview, guys. So let's check this out. And that's her new man right there. I'm happy for Tia. Tia deserves to be happy. Shoot, people deserve love, especially after, you know, her divorce. And then when she did this WeTV show on her own, she was just on that crying and falling apart. She wanted love again. She didn't know if she was going to get love again. I'm glad Tia done got her some love. She deserves it. So let's check this out. Shout out to Today, Sirius XM. Let me see. Hold on.
Sharing when they saw that you posted that you found love again.
And I was debating. So his name is Giovanni and he is a teacher. He also has his master's. He studied in France. He's an artist. He's an avid reader. And some of my favorite things that we do together is we will go to a Buddhist temple and we will meditate. We meditate every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
He will read to me like at night before we go to bed. And the books that we're reading is about co-parenting. Like he has 2 kids. Our kids are around the same age, 15 and 8, boy and a girl. And he is just he's a wonderful human being. And I mean, some of the things that he just says, like, is how can I support you? Like,
wait,
How can I
just ask? You know, because
like it's his emotional intelligence it's amazing.
Okay, so we know that Sierra had a prayer, right?
Yes, I manifested this.
That's what I want to know.
I did. So I was telling the girls earlier, my crew, basically what I did last year was a friend of mine had told me to listen to music, put some candles on, and just write out a list of what you would like in a partner. And I'm glad that it came around the time that it did, because I really wouldn't have known what I wanted 3 years ago. I really needed to sit in like solitude and like learn who I am first, before I even figured out what it was and what it is that I want. So I did do that. And not only did I do that, I'm a huge believer in like neuroscience. Like, I study a lot about the brain and just visuals and meditation. So I would literally close my eyes and I would meditate about my partner, and I would meditate about the feeling that I would want to feel. And the feeling was my nervous system being safe. And that's exactly what he does. Like, he's amazing. Like, he's so wonderful. So
I ain't mad at you. Don't let your backbone slip, Tia. Tia says she got her groove back. Tia, I ain't mad at you. Congratulations to Tia, y'all. She said she manifested this love in her life, y'all. So I guess that's what we all need to do. Manifest love in our life. I'm sending manifestation to us all that need love, right? Y'all, but that's all I got for y'all today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you know when I go live or when I upload a new video, y'all. Again, I am the one, the only, the real CT. And you know I'm always going to bring you nothing but real moments, real headlines, real life, real CT. I will see you all in the next video. And until next time, y'all be blessed. Peace.